Welcome to the Blessors of Israel podcast. I'm Matthew Dodd, Executive Director of Blessors of Israel. Honored to be in studio today with Pastor Rich Jones, the founder and chairman of Blessors of Israel. Well, looks like we have a monumental day.
I think so.
The makings of a monumental day on Friday, June 19th.
We might have a deal.
Memorandum of Understanding, or is it a Memorandum of Misunderstanding? That's the question that I have. Because when you look at all the back and forth, how much confidence can we have that things won't shift between now and then?
Well, that's a huge question, absolutely. That's one of the major questions of this whole deal. But let's celebrate a win. I mean, it's something, right? We've signed an MoU. It's been signed.
Digitally.
And it will be ceremonially signed here on Friday. And it's a Memorandum of Understanding, if people don't know, is usually a precursor to a bigger deal. It kind of outlines, okay, here's where we want to go, and then you have a certain period of time, in this case 60 days, to actually bring that to a real deal. And as we've seen, negotiating with Iran is a whole nother...
It's been said, I believe, they never have won a war, but they never lose
one either.
A negotiation.
And frankly, they've had a pretty strong leverage point, and that's the Strait of Hormuz and the control and flow of oil. They've really held the world
especially
hostage.
In a midterm election year.
Oh, the pressure.
You add all these the compound, one upon the other.
Yeah, so and there was a lot of pressure on President Trump to come to some terms. And, okay, let's kind of dive into this because, you know, I think 2 weeks ago we didn't know it was getting hot again. It looks like it appeared to be getting hot again. And then quickly kind of clamped down on that. And now here we have a deal by the looks of it, a deal. 14-point Memorandum of Understanding, or MoU.
Though nothing's been fully officially declared as to what is part of the MoU, though things have been leaked out.
Yeah, I'm looking at a 14-point summary here. You know, whether that's legitimate or not is interesting. But now you brought up a great point, which is trust. I mean, how far can we really trust? Well, I mean, Obama back, some years ago created a deal with Iran. And
speaking of the JCPOA,
exactly,
2015.
And how well did they abide by those terms? Not very, right? So I don't think trust is really in the vocabulary of anyone who talks about Iran and holding to a deal. But at the same time, now, call balls and strikes fair, they're going to say, well, the United States didn't hold to it either. Well, the United States would say, well, that's because you didn't hold to your end first.
They always seem to forget that first part, that they failed to keep the deal, and then someone else has to come up and clean up their mess.
Well, and, that's kind of typical of a lot.
Like with Lebanon. Hezbollah fires on Sunday, Israel retaliates, and Israel's the one who is left to say, you're to blame for all of this, when Israel made it very clear we need to defend ourselves. We will defend ourselves. In fact, I think that's another case in point of, once again, the hardliners looking for ways to undermine it because they know that what is in that MoU makes it potentially look like Iran is also losing on some fronts as well.
Yeah, but they're also gaining, frankly.
Which I agree.
I'll tell you some of the points that concern me. I'm sure you've got some points
I do,
as well.
And Israel's very, very concerned about this too. And we'll get to that in just a moment.
Yeah, and interestingly, Israel is not a party to this MoU, will not be a party to the final agreement, strategically, I believe. However, you've looked at these 14 points. I'm sure a lot of our followers would like to maybe kind of have a summary. What are in these 14? Don't go over every one of them, but kind of summarize what you see are the major points that we are seeing in this MoU.
Well, what I see, major points, number one, obviously we want to open up commerce within the Strait of Hormuz.
Right.
Both
ways.
Both ways.
They have blockaded, and we have blockaded.
Exactly. So we will withdraw our forces and permit, and so will they.
That's key. That's certainly a very large one.
Without any tolls, it appears, for now.
No, wait. Now that's where I'm
Did you pick up on that?
I did. I'm seeing statements like initially,
Or for now is what I'm reading.
and that
Or during the
holds-
60-day ceasefire.
Right. And that kind of leads to, hey, wait just a minute here. It sounds to me like the door is open for them to start charging fees long term, and that's going to just be a huge money flow into Iran.
And in addition to that, then there looks like some sanctions relief, which will increase
That's big.
income for Iran. I've seen reports up to $100 billion. In addition, it appears that you have some Arab states that I think is the UAE that is going to basically give them $300 billion if they cross certain thresholds in terms of being cooperative, being a good neighbor, so that they can rebuild their infrastructure.
Right.
Which, by the way,
Right.
the moment I hear that reminds me of what? Oh, the Gaza Strip
Yeah,
and how
that's
well
exactly-
Hamas.
That's exactly what I was
Did
gonna
they build
say.
the infrastructure? No,
Yeah.
they actually built fortifications and munitions and tunnels, right, so they could attack Israel.
Right. So you give Iran $300 billion. Come on. You know for a fact that's going to be used to support Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, factions
Which, by
in
the way, is
Iraq.
conspicuously missing from this. Now,
Well, so
Vice
is
President
Israel.
J.D. Vance
Yeah.
did mention that they're going to be forced to, no longer support Hezbollah and the efforts of Hamas and the Houthis and these proxies to pose a threat in the Middle East and Israel primarily. But again, who's going to manage that? Who's going to verify that?
Because I think that Iran has really gained a lot of confidence from this. Number one, they survived. Number two, they have come to see that they can really put a chokehold on the world's economy, and that gives them so much leverage. Now, there are things that I think could be done to mitigate that for the future. For example, I think, and I'm sure plans are underway right now, to build massive oil pipelines to divert oil away from
In fact, that's
the
what was
Strait.
taking place.
It is.
Those Middle Eastern countries were doing just that. They were looking for alternative routes so they never had to deal with that bottleneck, that threat again.
Well, there are some pipelines, but not nearly enough for the
Not enough for
capacity.
20-25% of the world's commerce to go through that one
Right. So
particular
I think
area.
there's a great point, right? That the pipelines could mitigate this problem in the future. That's important. But the bottom line is, it's not going to eliminate all of the issue, and Iran's going to have a revenue source that I'm shocked, frankly, by that one. I thought I heard that they were saying, no way is Iran going to start charging tolls.
And what happened instead was, no, the United States won't be paying for it, but we'll have other actors be involved. And it's almost like dealing with the Iranian mafia here, where, okay, if you don't want us to be a bad neighbor, you need to pay.
Well, okay, there's the two factors. One is the ongoing fees for shipping lanes. Number two is the rebuilding fund. All of it is, in my mind, way outside of what... Now, I guess, in negotiations, you never get everything you want. So you got to give that, right? But at the same time, it seems like what I'm seeing is they get a lot here.
They sure do.
In fact, I read somewhere, right on my hot little report here, hot off the press, that it says, what I'm reading is that, yes, it says two things. One is that there will be a disposition of enriched material, nuclear material. But another one I read was status quo.
Exactly.
So which one is it? Is it status quo? They're not going to do anything further. How much do you trust that? Didn't work for Obama. Or are they going to get rid of all their dust?
A lot of questions, and then you have President Trump making statements like it really isn't that big of a deal, but psychologically, I think it's good for people to know that someone has possession of that enriched uranium, as long as it's not Iran. But
but which one
again,
is it? I mean, is it status quo, or are we going to see a deconstruction?
And for Trump, the bottom line he announced today at the G7 was, the big deal was, I don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons.
Sure.
And that was it.
No, they are disavowing nuclear weapons.
Which, by the way, they said, as we've said before, which actually goes to the times of the Shah of Iran. That's when that initially was enacted. Then you have, The Ayatollah Khamenei, he was making comments about that later on. But nevertheless, why was it that they had uranium enriched to 60%? Almost 900 pounds worth, 400 some kilograms of it?
Enough for 10 or 11
Exactly.
nuclear bombs, yeah. So, when we look at these points, we can kind of pick them apart and say not the best deal, but then again, in negotiations, require compromise. Let's celebrate the wins.
I'm wondering, though, just to throw a wrench into the works, why was compromise necessary when we had the kinetic military upper hand? We were pressing them 2 days, and it brought them to the negotiating table. We stopped. Reports are coming out right now that Israel was ready with a strike. They were ready to launch a military strike against Iran's nuclear facilities, and they were called off within an hour of being launched. So they were ready to go. I believe in many ways we have a situation where we're not completing the job. I believe
But why?
the United States had the upper hand, and that's what I don't know. Other than what I'm hearing is that there's pressure from the surrounding neighbors that are saying, we don't want this to have a mess that falls into our borders. We don't want to deal with the fallout, the casualties, the all of that. And so I think that weighed heavy on President Trump's decision.
Here's my theory, and we'll see how good of a theory it is. My theory was, because we were right at that point where Trump was saying, okay, now we're going to destroy their infrastructure. Right? We're going to go after...
But he also said I didn't want to.
Well, yes, but that was the next step, right? I'm ready. I've got all the targets, dialed in.
Within a minute, they'll be gone.
We're going to, infrastructure. You're going to wipe out the society. I think the people would have suffered greatly, number one, the average person, whereas they were trying to focus on the military. Now you do something like that, it's going to bring that pain to the very ones you want to come to your side, you might say, and come on, let's overthrow this government. So they would have brought a lot of hurt there. That's one. Number two, the moment that was done, Iran would have started attacking all the Arab nations' infrastructures.
That's my point.
And they would have wiped out all the oil production, oil fields. It would have got ugly real fast, right? So I think to say, why didn't we? I think there's a strategic reason why we hit them really, really hard and then say, let's negotiate. Unfortunately, that just gave them the hand they needed to deal the Hormuz card, right? And so I don't want to say they have the trump card, but I'm going to say that they had a card to play, and that was the Hormuz card, and they played it very, very well. Now, the United States responded to it by saying, you're going to blockade us, we're going to blockade you, and then it was pain both ways, and that led to finally where we are today. But Trump was under a lot of pressure, right, to get this thing settled. You got a midterm election coming up. We have a world on the brink. We are on the brink of sovereign debt crises all over the world. We are nearing a tipping point that required some deal to be made. So why? I think there was pressure both ways. And frankly, I'm glad we have something. I wish it was better, but I'm glad we have something in place.
It just seems to me if the United States, primarily, not Israel, because they were pushing the full throttle.
Yeah.
If the United States would have stuck to the original plan, remember, they stopped early. They originally said it would take 6 to 8 weeks. I believe, if memory serves me, they stopped around the 5-week mark. They didn't even complete what they could have completed to really bring about, I believe, a picture where Iran was no longer thinking they're in the driver's seat. We can negotiate this thing. We can get more wins. As a result, I think we have more losses than we have wins.
Oh, with this deal?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so too.
Now, I know there's more that needs to be fleshed out, and there's still a lot that's unknown, but things are leaking out regarding this deal. And what I see are some glaring misses. And then you have Israel being boxed out. Here you had a partnership. And then you have, and I won't even say the words that President Trump was using with regards to what happened with Lebanon on Sunday. Then you have him coming out and publicly rebuking Netanyahu the way he did. And yes, I have a good relationship, but he doesn't know what he's doing with Lebanon. Well, they're getting ready to sign a mutual agreement here, an agreement, memo of understanding, memorandum of understanding. Just right now was announced, and so they're getting very, very close. They're trying to box out Hezbollah, which really is just another arm of the Iranian army.
That's right.
You got to see it for what it is.
Sure.
And so here they're getting ready to box them out, and suddenly they get called off once again. Yet they're the ones with the existential threat on their border.
True, but I'm of the opinion that Israel was not partaking of this on purpose. I think that they reserve the right to defend ourselves, and we're not going to be party to an agreement that's going to hedge us in. We have all rights to do anything we need to do, and we're not going to sign anything that's going to limit us. And so I think personally...
But then you have an open rebuke, a public rebuke.
Yeah, but I think to some degree that's good cop, bad cop. I think that Israel was going far, far, far into this, and so it's kind of good cop, bad cop. Israel is not part of this. They're going to say, yeah, we're not going to be part of this because we're going to do whatever we want to do.
Well, and rightly so. They have the right to defend themselves. Right. And, we are hearing news reports that they are withdrawing their dependence. Not that there's been much, but there's been some funding that they received from the United States, militarily speaking. And they're trying to withdraw from that, and they are becoming the leaders. They want to become the leaders in AI. That was announced today.
Right.
I mean, they are really pushing full throttle on all of these fronts. But as a result, I see them becoming even more isolated. Whereas before this war started, I felt like there was a partnership that was there, and now I'm concerned they're becoming even more isolated. And all you need is a change at the helm in the United States.
Or Israel.
And we could see things isolate even more for Israel.
Right. Netanyahu is not going to be there forever.
Election in October.
Right. And he's frankly accomplished way more than people thought was remotely possible. But I think there's a risk.
Clearly they have different objectives. The United States and Israel, they have different objectives. The United States is focused on the midterms and strengthening the economy because we're suffering both locally, nationally, and globally.
Exactly right.
But Israel has a different agenda. And for him running as prime minister, they want to see that existential threat removed.
Right.
So you can see now those different visions are now chafing against one another.
Yes, but when you look back at what they've accomplished, I mean, they have brought far more security.
Agreed.
They've weakened Hamas, they've weakened Hezbollah, they've weakened the Houthis, they have weakened Iran, although this agreement...
But temporarily until you see them funded again.
With $300 billion.
You're funding your enemies. You're funding the very ones who seek to destroy you or dominate you. Even in the Middle East, they understand that, the Gulf states. Iran is no friend to them.
So here's the question. Are we going to have to do this all over again
I think so.
10 years, 12 years, 15 years?
I believe, as I've been looking at this also in light of Scripture, what do we see? Number one, Israel is going to become more isolated. Check. Number two, the neighbors around Israel will get stronger. Check. Then you're going to have a strengthening of Russia.
Although that's down the road.
That's down the road. But guess who is a big winner in this? Turkey. Turkey is going to get getting stronger in all of this. And we cannot forget China. What has China learned about the United States with this exchange?
Right.
In regards to Taiwan. I mean, they're getting stronger and stronger as a nuclear power, and their desire for Taiwan is very, very clear. They want to unify. I believe there's some big, big lessons that they've learned from this that may harm us in the future. Plus, there was a report that came out today that the United States, we may have an issue in terms of munitions. And even though Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says we're going to be fine, other reports coming from the White House say, no, we have concerns in terms of how do we replenish our stockpile, our supplies. Very, very concerning.
Well, they have been rebuilding, of course.
They have been, but not fast enough. And the suppliers aren't able to provide fast enough is the word.
Well, fast enough for what?
For the next kinetic engagement.
Well, right.
Or deterrence.
Deterrence is a better word. I don't hope we don't see China taking the opportunity to go after Taiwan now. I think that they're going to hold. And, I mean, you're right. They have seen that there's a weak point. that weak point is leverage economically, right? If they can hold, but see, now they're vulnerable to that too. Iran has been able to survive. They can survive on dirt, it seems like, China, no. They are dependent on the world economy to thrive because they're the the sellers to the world. And if they don't have buyers out there, they're going to be in trouble. They're already faltering to some degree.
I agree.
We have to be very careful that we are not blind to the fact that they are also vulnerable to the same thing. And of course, they go after Taiwan. The first thing that's going to go is TMCS. They're going to destroy themselves. Mm-hmm. They were already planning on, this is the semiconductor manufacturer, Taiwan Semiconductor. They will destroy themselves. They will not allow China to take that factory.
It's true. It's true.
So anyway,
very, very concerning times.
Yeah.
But I am concerned about the nature of the relationship between the United States and Israel, what's been communicated. Under Biden, we called out on this program the things that Biden did against Benjamin Netanyahu. Wouldn't even invite him to the White House, for instance. Got to call balls and strikes fairly. When you begin to air out your family laundry like that, it communicates not only to the family but also to the enemies what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about Israel becoming more isolated. I understand the United States and our need to protect our objectives and our interests as well, but there's a partnership that's been there, and you cannot equate Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE with Israel in terms of an ally in the Middle East.
Oh, for sure. There's no one like Israel.
Them, and I don't trust the other ones. Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter is, the Iranians will lie to your face. They have over and over again. So why do we think it'll be any different this time? The truth of the matter is, as these negotiations happen for 60 days, unless something's not signed on Friday, Iran has a tendency to add things, take things off, shift the gears. That's why I called it a memorandum of misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. Well, no, that's not how I interpret these things. We can have two people looking at the exact same text, and the Iranians will come back and say, no, this is what we meant.
Yeah. Oh, trust. We brought that up from the very beginning. That's going to be the ultimate question. Can you trust them? We both understand. No, you cannot.
And then with Hezbollah, President Trump talked about having Syria, al-Jalani, get in there. I think they'll do a better job than the Israelis.
Yeah.
Those types of comments
not helpful.
Are not helpful whatsoever.
No.
So we need to really be in prayer for our president, for the leadership. There's even reports coming out that Ratcliffe, Hegseth, and Rubio were not in agreement with Trump pursuing this MoU. It was reported by Axios today. They were not in support of this MoU because they didn't trust the Iranians. And Trump pressed forward anyway, listening to Jared Kushner and Witkoff instead.
So what are the alternatives? I know we wanted to wrap up here, but what were the alternatives? If you say we don't trust them, what are your alternatives? Total destruction, right? Like, okay, we're not going to trust you at all, so we're just going to totally destroy you.
Press them to the point where we actually get things agreed to. So they're in a position of weakness to the extent that they have to agree.
Okay, but
this is not going to be a World War II signing. The end of...
No, I understand that, but we were at a point, again, why didn't Trump back off at all? Because we were at a point where the damages to our allies, their infrastructure, was going to be a consequence, and the Hormuz issue was going to be a consequence. The world sovereign debt crisis was going to be a consequence. And the United States' own debt crisis, by the way. We are at a tipping point. All of those factors say, even though you can't trust Iran, you got to sign something best you possibly can, because all of those other negatives, we cannot misunderstand. Those are serious consequences.
I agree. And again, back to my earlier point, that's why I wish we would have stuck to the original timeline and just pressed and pressed and pressed for those 6 to 8 weeks to come to a different outcome versus delaying this out, because Iran is going to continue to delay.
They should have,
because it could extend even beyond the 60 days. They said, we're going to be pushing right up against the midterms. Sure, Brent crude has come down under $80 per barrel. Great news. It was around $50 to $60 per barrel before February 28th, but we're getting closer. It was a big drop in a very short time. My point, though, is ships still aren't moving through.
Well, we just signed this.
I know. but it's going to take a while. And I'm even hearing now, CNN's reporting, it's very complicated to get all those mines out.
It is.
It is.
Yeah. So,
Which means
they should have asked us. I'm telling you, we're free.
Right there.
Right? Your tax dollars at work. I'm free. I'm willing to contribute.
You're tax deductible.
I'm tax deductible and expendable. I could have given them some advice.
Yeah.
They didn't ask
Well,
me.
I'm going to be praying for them.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Anyway. I step back. It's not ideal.
No.
But I'll tell you what. I believe that it's a good day.
Okay.
I wish it was better, but I'm glad we got something.
I wish I was as optimistic as you are.
I'm not saying I'm optimistic.
Well,
I'm just saying
I'm having a hard time saying it's a good day.
Okay.
It's
a bad day that we signed an MoU with Israel.
Ultimately, with Iran. Ultimately, I have to see what's in the pudding, right?
Well, we're going to see what 60 days brings, but at least we got something to work toward.
Hopefully.
Because if we continue, what if we continue to? I know we were trying to wrap up. What if we just went down the status quo? No, we can't go down the status quo. We cannot forget the economic tipping point is serious. I mean, I really monitor the bond market. I monitor gold, what's going on with Bitcoin.
I do as well.
And we are at a serious tipping point. United States is the tip of the spear on sovereign debt crisis.
Agreed.
And there's a big plan in the works. But this deal with Iran has got to be first, because if you don't get something going with Iran, the tipping point is serious.
Agreed. Well, all the more reason to be praying for our
trying to wrap
leaders.
up?
I am. Our leaders, the Israelis,
pray.
and the people of Iran, because guess what? They're the ones who had that hope. You can seize that freedom, and nothing has changed. So I grieve for them as well. I pray for them every day.
Right.
On that note, I just want to thank you so much for joining us today, and I want to encourage you to learn more. If you want to learn more about the importance of standing with Israel in the latter days, please visit our website at www.blessors.org. That's blessors with an ors.org. There you'll learn about our vision, our mission statement. By the way, make sure you check out our newsroom. There you will see curated news, the latest news concerning Israel and the Middle East. If you want to stay up to date, we filter through all the noise so you can get the signal. Make sure you check out our newsroom. Also, you'll see original articles with a biblical perspective. By the way, if you haven't done so, make sure you like this podcast, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you tell your family, your friends, so that they too can be informed about the importance of standing with Israel. You can follow us on Facebook, X, and Getter, and we support your prayers. We appreciate your prayers and your financial support as we build this new and very important ministry. Remember, those who bless Israel will be blessed. Shalom, shalom.